Dawson also found the list Fidget had dropped. But before he could show it to Basil, the toy store came to life. Wind-up toys were marching at them from everywhere. In the confusion, Fidget grabbed Olivia, popped her into a sack, and fled. Basil and Dawson were unable to stop him. "Confound it," said Basil. "I told you to watch the girl." "Oh, never mind, old chap," he continued, seeing that Dawson was upset. "We'll get her back." Examining Fidget's list and discovering it had been soaked in river water, Basil figured it must have come from the riverfront. Disguised as sailors, he and Dawson were able to locate Ratigan's hideout. In the darkness, they were suddenly blinded by bright lights. A huge "Welcome, Basil" banner unfurled, and they were surrounded by Ratigan's gang, yelling, "Surprise!" "With your disguise, I would hardly know you, the greatest detective in all Mousedom," said Ratigan with an evil laugh. "I'm so glad Fidget dropped that list. Otherwise, I might have missed the pleasure of your company." "Ratigan, I'll see you in jail yet," said Basil. "You don't seem to understand." "I've won," said Ratigan, laughing even harder. With Basil and Dawson tied to an elaborate trap and Olivia corked up inside a bottle, Ratigan inspected the large package that held Flaversham's invention. "Flaversham," he said, "let me congratulate you on a superb job. I'm sure the Queen will be delighted with my gift." Then Ratigan kissed his pet cat, Felicia. "Goodbye, my little rosebud," he said. "Daddy will see you soon." And she padded off toward the palace, carrying Ratigan's gang on her back. They were dressed in the uniforms from the toy store, and ready to carry out Ratigan's evil plan. To Basil and Dawson, Ratigan bid farewell. "It was my fond hope to stay and witness your final scene," he said, "but I cannot keep the Queen waiting." At the palace, the Mouse Queen of England was waiting to address her subjects. Fidget appeared with a note. "To our beloved Queen, this gift we send, as her 50-year reign comes to an end." And then the gift was unwrapped. A life-size mechanical double of the Queen. "My goodness," said the real Queen with alarm as the doll began to move. And then she fled, right into the arms of Professor Ratigan. With the real Queen tied up, Flaversham was forced to imitate her voice as the mechanical Queen doll addressed her subjects. "On this occasion, we are here to honor not only my 50 years as Queen, but someone of truly noble stature. I present to you a statesman among mice, a gifted leader, a crusader for justice, freedom, and truth, and my new royal consort, Professor Ratigan." The audience drew back in horror and disbelief. "Thank you, Your Majesty," said Ratigan. "Now I have a few suggestions for running the country. Item 1. Anyone who disagrees with me about anything will be gotten rid of. Item 99, Ratigan continued. There shall be a heavy tax against the elderly, the sick, and especially the little children." "That's ridiculous," shouted someone in the crowd. "Perhaps I haven't made myself clear," Ratigan said. "I have the power. This is my kingdom. Of course, with your permission, Your Majesty. Meanwhile, Basil, Dawson, and Olivia had escaped from Ratigan's den and arrived at the palace. Rushing on stage, Basil shouted, "Arrest that Fied!" Ratigan tried to escape, but Basil finally caught up with him and ended his life of crime. The Queen honored Basil for his bravery and service to the crown. Back at Baker Street, Olivia and her father bid Basil a thankful goodbye, but Dawson stayed on. Although they had many cases together, Dawson always looked back with special fondness on that first one. His introduction to the most brilliant mouse he had ever known. Basil of Baker Street.